What's a right? We're live. Sorry, we were supposed to have a nice brand there. Let's do a bit of that. It's Tuesday night. It's cheese night. It's time to talk cheese with just what is it? 2 weeks left to go, 3 weeks left to go before Christmas. We are juicing up our cheese boards, and we have the most awesome, the most legendary, the most fantastic man. That's a really good look as your camera froze there, Joe. Joe Schneider of Stichelton Dairy. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm very good. How are you?
Very well, very well. I see you're tucking into your beer as well. So cheers. Happy Christmas. Happy V-Day.
Happy Christmas.
Because it's V-Day today. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, Vaccination Day. Thank goodness.
It is. It is. So all is going extremely well in the world as we know it. Kind of. But we're going to talk a different kind of inoculation tonight. We're going to talk blue. We're talking about Penicillium Roqueforti. We're going to talk about Stichelton. Thou shalt not call thyself Stilton. And you know, allegedly the oldest, greatest cheese in the book. So tell us about yourself, Joe. Be verbose.
Be verbose. It won't take you long. If you don't know me and you're listening to my accent, you can tell I'm not a native of Nottinghamshire. But I've been living in England for 22 years. Can you believe that? So I can say vitamin, aluminium, no problem. But I've been making cheese for a long time. And this is my third project that I've done. I used to live in Sussex, in Forest Road. You probably know that.
All right. Down my new neck of the woods.
Yes. That was my first cheese making job in England.
Oh, wow. So what, you know, without revealing any dirty secrets, how old were you then?
I would have been in my late 20s.
Okay.
Right.
So did you have a background? Did your parents make cheese? Why cheese? What brought you in?
Oh, well, I followed a woman.
Was she a cheese? Was she making cheese?
No, she was just beautiful. I called her though. So
okay, so that is okay. And was cheese your wooing technique? Was it going, come, taste my cheese?
Not really. No, I was an American living in Holland making Greek cheese for a Turk. That's how I got started.
Okay, that's so obvious. I probably could have guessed that without any difficulty. So you were in Holland, you come over to the UK, you start making cheese down in Sussex. And I'm assuming at some point you met Randolph, and that must have been sort of the beginning of the Stichelton journey.
Well, yeah. So just at the end of that Sussex project, I was trying to get into Neil's Yard Dairy with my cheese. And then I took on my second project, which was in the Cotswolds at Daylesford.
Okay.
So to go work with, it was Sir Anthony then, but I think it's Lord Anthony now, and Lady Bamford.
Okay, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I started the creamery at Daylesford, and when the cheese was ready, we made it sort of little 10-kilo cheddar type cheese. I invited Randolph to come and taste it, and he started buying it, and that's when we struck up a friendship. So that would have been in 2001, 2002, something like that.
So still at the beginning, well, yeah, a little bit into the cheese renaissance. So Randolph Hodgson at Neil's Yard is in his stride, and he's looking around for people who are making cheese with heritage, with provenance, and with heart at that point. And this is when you guys met.
Yeah, and don't forget, I'm a little bit unique in the cheese world because I'm not attached to a farm. So all of my cheese making colleagues, they are living on their family farms and making cheese on their family. They're not sort of free to roam around and do different things, really. I was kind of like a gun for hire, I suppose. Just somebody who came and really committed to making cheese so I could take on different projects.
Yeah,
so
and
at some point, yeah.
So at some point you decided that you'd try and have a crack at unpasteurized Stilton. Did you think of other things to do before that? I mean, unpasteurized Stilton hadn't been made at that point for what, 14 years, 15 years?
Not since 1988.
88. I thought it was 89, but yeah. So it was
Oh,
within,
that's right.
within
It was Christmas of '88, and then they started New Year's of '89.
So let's put a bit of history onto that one. In Christmas of '88, somebody was having a dinner party. Was it actually a member of Parliament? That's the story I heard, and he managed to poison his guests. And he blamed it on the Stilton, which at that point the only unpasteurized Stilton maker was Colston Bassett. And there was a bit of a hullabaloo, and it made national press. And the other Stilton members, this is the story I hold, I kind of romance it a bit just to make it sound good, stormed up to Colston Bassett's door and said, "Thou shalt not make Stilton because you're sinking the whole ship. From now on, you got to pasteurize it." Is that about right?
I think everybody's heard a different embellishment of that story, but the kernel of the story is true. Colston Bassett was the last dairy making raw milk cheese, and they stopped voluntarily, but under pressure from the other Stilton makers. So it wasn't. A lot of people are confused about that. They think that the law says that you can't make unpasteurized Stilton. It doesn't. It's the PDO protection that prevents you from doing that, and that's something that the Stilton makers entered voluntarily. Nobody forced them to stop, but I think it was the pressure of the larger, more commercial Stilton makers on Colston Bassett because of that incident. And we're just talking about chippy tummies and stuff. Nobody died or anything.
No.
That they stopped.
And was it an MP? Was it an MP? Because what I heard is the only reason it even got.
All right. No, I hadn't heard that part of this story. So,
okay. Well, until I'm contradicted, I'm going to go on saying that that's true because I always like an embellished story there. So Stilton is like unpasteurized Stilton as a concept, as an idea, as an art, is lying fallow, sitting there until you and Randolph, I'm guessing in a pub somewhere, came up with this idea to recreate it. I mean, am I again embellishing it, or is it something like that?
Well, you're giving me too much credit. So the whole idea was foisted upon me in a pub.
Okay, so that bit's true.
Plied me with several pints of beer and said, "Hey, I've got this cool idea. Do you want to try to make an unpasteurized Stilton in England?" And I said, "Yeah, that's a great idea too. Can I have another pint, please?" And what I didn't know about Randolph back then, he's like Johnny Appleseed. He just plants little seeds of ideas, and then they grow in your head out of your control. So I found myself thinking more and more about it, and he would talk to me about it and say, "Yeah, serious, I want to do this." Randolph used to sell unpasteurized cheese in his shop, unpasteurized Stilton, in the 1980s. And he remembered how glorious it was, and they wanted to bring it back.
So is it your company or his company or shared experience, or is it Joe Schneider Incorporated? What's the deal up there in Welbeck?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that because I'm really proud of how we set it up. So we have 3 shareholders in the company. We are in partnership with the farm. So we didn't have 2 or 3 million quid to buy a dairy farm. So we had to find somebody to work with in the right county. And Welbeck Estate had a beautiful barn, 250-year-old barn, and beautiful cows and a lovely herdsman and a huge pile of money. So Randolph and I came and met them, and we formed a company when they said, "Oh yeah, we'd like to do that project." So the farm, the milk producer, is a shareholder.
Right.
I'm a shareholder, and Wheels Yard Dairy shareholder. So you've got the producer of the milk, the processor of the cheese, and the marketing side. All
so it's right up down the trade from the cow to the plate.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really proud of that setup. It works so well for us.
And when did you make your first cheese?
14 years ago, 2006.
And when did you sell your first cheese?
We didn't. We put it in a horse box and dragged it away and stuck it in a hole.
Okay. So how long?
Because actually broke the axle of the horse box. So I probably owe somebody some money for that, but it was a lot of cheese. It was everything we made for a month. We just threw it away. Dreadful.
Oh God. So there's a cheesy sinkhole that is probably an environmental nightmare out there somewhere, full of your learnings.
It, you know, in 100 years, it'll be excavated by archaeologists, and it'll puzzle them for years.
It'll be this big ball of calcium, and it's a meteorite. What's happened here?
Actually, I think it's probably worked its center of the earth by now.
So it's so back in 2006, you said you made your cheese. It took you a month to get close. You must have, you know, it's hard to make good cheese. It's harder to make good unpasteurized cheese. So what were your challenges, and how did you overcome them?
We're still trying to overcome them. It's yeah, as you say, unpasteurized cheese is a different beast altogether from pasteurized cheese, because you're working with a living product. And the analogy I like to use is you're more of a shepherd. You're sort of a bacteria farmer, and you're trying to shepherd bacteria to go left and right, and it's very difficult. But if you pasteurize the milk, you start with a clean palate, and you have more control. And then also, my cheddar making friends are going to disagree, but really making cheddar is a dog. It's the blue cheeses and the soft cheeses. That's really difficult. They're a little bit finicky, very temperamental. They go off the rails very easy. So it's a steep learning curve.
So for our cheese making watchers or people who like cheese, inside a cheese, which is like a big petri dish, right? A cheese is basically a petri dish, and you've got these competing microorganisms, whether they're molds or yeasts or bacteria, and they interleave. So you might get early growth of this style that then gets knocked back by the next style, and each one impacts on flavor in its own way. So it's not just the fact that you've got these bacteria or yeast or molds contributing. They'll contribute at different times during the make and the maturing. So that's what you're talking about, isn't it? It's like making sure every organism plays its part when it's supposed to.
Yeah, and you've got the added dimension. The blue cheese has changed direction. So, you know, if you look at cheddar, it's ripening from the inside out, and it's going in that direction pretty much its whole life. When you pierce blue cheese, you are literally turning its acidification profile in the other direction. So you start to become less acid as the blue develops. Other microbes are now coming to the fore, and other ones are finding it uncomfortable and they're not surviving.
So just run through. Okay, so it's a 3-month cheese, roughly.
Depends on the time of year, but between I'd say 20 to say 3.5 months to 5 months.
Okay. So when you're making your cheese, you're making it as a crumbly, a British territorial crumbly. You're adding Penicillium Roqueforti as one would expect. When you're piercing it,
we pierce it a bit later than other Stilton makers. So we're piercing at 6 and 7 weeks. So we pierce it twice. And I think the reason we like to do that is we want the cheese itself to have time to develop flavor and mellow and mature a bit. As much as I would like to just sell you water, I could pierce it early and sell you lots of water by weight. But we want the cheese to breathe a bit, lose a bit of moisture, and mellow itself before we start the bluing process.
Okay, so the needles have gone in, the blue is activated, for lack of a better phrase. Do you like Stilton makers pierce only from the sides?
I pierce, yeah. I've got a pierce machine that goes in from the sides. You should have started your question with a disclaimer, because this is a very sensitive subject.
Oh, is it?
Accosted by people all the time who tell me how blue cheese is turned blue, and it involves copper wires, involves all sorts of funny things, and you have to be careful of disabusing somebody of some romantic notion they've got. So if you don't want to know the football score,
look away now.
Look away now. We just poke boring old the steel needles into the side of the cheese at 6
Uh-huh.
weeks, and then again at 7. The air goes in, the blue wakes up, and off she goes.
And she takes another, so what do you say, 6 or 7 weeks, and you're looking for 3.5 to 5.5 months. So she's got 1.5. She's got two to 4 months with the blue developing inside.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends a little bit on the moisture content and the condition of the milk, the time of year. So like this cheese that I made, I've got in front of me now, this was made in September. Lots of butter fat in the milk, and it's already pooling lovely nectar on the board beneath me. A lot of fat.
Okay, show us.
And it's breaking down quickly. So this
Right,
is
I'm going to give
made
you the
in September, and it's already going soft and gooey. And
okay, bring it up to the camera.
Look at that rind collapsing because it's so soft and delicious. But we do that on purpose to get cheese ready for Christmas. You can see it glistening, the moisture on it.
Yeah. So when you talk about that cheese nectar, talk about that cheese nectar. What is it?
It's Eau de Joe.
It's what?
Eau de Joe. It's
is that your wife says?
Yeah. We're gonna ball it and make a fortune. It just tastes delicious. Out of the piercing holes comes this it's not clear, it's like amber liquid. It's the fat and the proteins breaking down from the blue. And it's got a lot of sweetness and saltiness, and it's just ambergris. Nectar of the gods.
Nectar of the gods. You can't milk it like a rubber tree.
No, but if I pressed down on it, I'd get some. Sometimes the only word to use when we're turning a soft cheese like that, the only appropriate word to use is ejaculate. The cheese ejaculates on us, yeah, and we get juice all over our arms and sometimes face. Yeah. It's a hazard of the profession.
Okay. Didn't expect that tonight, but that kind of thing can be unexpected. So once your cheese ejaculates on you, you're thinking to yourself, this is a point. This is ready to go. This is when it's going to be at its best.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't sell. It's funny, if you come into our maturing rooms, they don't seem to mature in date order. Like you can't just pick cheese to sell by date. They all kind of have their own personality. Younger ones will sometimes go faster than older ones. And even within the batch, they won't mature at the same rate. So we have to iron each one.
Yeah. Wow.
Decide which ones are ready ones.
And so release your secrets into the wild. Why? What is it? What is pushing? Is it surely cheese is the same batch? It's a sort of rule of thumb that those cheeses do mature in the same way. But why that you've got cheese in the same batch moving in different directions?
I think it's just because I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, say it how it is, Joe. Act with confidence and assurance.
Yeah, consistency is one of the things we're famous for.
Yeah. Okay. So you are consistently inconsistent. You're riding the wave of opportunity and let the microorganisms do their wild thing as and when they see fit.
We tried to shepherd them, but I'm not under the illusion that I'm under complete control. So what I love about Stichelton, the analogy I like to use when you're making it, it's like, that sport, it's the only sport where British people do well, the Winter Olympics, curling, right?
All right. Yeah.
So Stichelton is a cheese of initial conditions. So I have to set up the milk at exactly the right temperature. I have to add homeopathic amounts of starter. I have to get the set just right, and then there's nothing else I can do. I have to wait 24 hours to see what comes out. So cheddar, you can scald earlier, you can stir more, you can pitch earlier. You have levers and buttons you can press. Stichelton is all about the initial conditions. So once you let go of the stone, and you're aiming for that thing, that bullseye.
You make it sound like even more difficult than curling. At least with curling, you can get that guy with the brush.
Yeah, have that.
You don't even have that.
You go home and you come back in the morning to see where your puck has landed. Yeah.
Yeah. Nightmare. Right. Well, come on. taste with us, take us through, do a masterclass tasting of the most individual of British cheeses, and
Oh,
tell us.
Are you going to taste it?
Yeah, no, I've already eaten a fair amount, so I'm on my way, man.
Oh, great. You know what I love about it is the smell on it is sort of toasty and biscuity. It's really rich, digested biscuit. And this is a really lovely soft cheese with good bluing.
Have I got the same cheese as you?
I think they're from the same month.
Okay.
So yeah, yours looks pretty sticky too.
Yeah, come on, you can
focus.
focus.
Let me see. Oh yeah, that's the 6th of September.
Yes, boss. Thousands will believe you. So I'm gonna bring this up. So what we've got going on here is a very nice spread of the blue right across the cheese here. So it's not heavily concentrated in the center, and it goes easily, nicely, and you're getting evidence of some of the needling, but you've got nice little open packets. And when I was just saying to Joe before we started that my cheese, when I opened it, the blue had fallen back, to use your phrase, had gone back to sleep. So very pale, hints of light green. And within, I don't know, an hour, I'm getting that really distinctive blue-green becoming very dominant in color terms, and I love that fact that this cheese it's alive. It's alive in every real sense of the word.
Yeah, that's magic. Like when we go to a market or something, you cut open the cheese and you think, oh look, it's really pale. It hasn't blued up in 30 minutes. It's just
come.
It's like it blossoms right in front of you. It's magic.
I think blossoms is the right word. I love the way that it comes around, and it starts almost like talking at you. It's saying, okay, I'm ready to party. So if you've got a cheese as variable as this, you must have different profiles that you like. Like you like it when it's like this and like it when it's like that.
Yeah, but I think I like it now for the main reason that most people like Stilton at Christmas. There's something about that sort of late summer, early autumn milk. You're not out on fresh grass anymore, so the cows are getting more, dry matter, not just lots of water, fresh grass. The fats are going up again. You get really lovely creamy milk, and it produces these beautiful, unctuous, nectar, sweet, syrupy cheeses that I think is part of the reason that Stilton became associated with Christmas, because the cheese is made in the summer and autumn. We're ready for Christmas, and that was the best milk, and it produced that kind of seductive, delicious, softer version of itself. Our winter cheeses are much more lactic acid, harder. They take longer to break down. They're more savory, meat juicy, bovril. But I like these sort of late autumn syrupy sweet notes. They're delicious.
When do your cows come in? So when do you move on to the winter feed? And
well, our cows are out all year. At least for a trundle in the day. They walk around. Not that they're finding much to eat. So probably October-ish, they're going more and more onto a winter ration.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. This is the best of your cheeses I have ever had. I love the fact that it's retained. You called it syrupy, which I thought was wrong, and then I thought about it, and I'm actually really bonding with that description. It's got it's not got a soft wetness. It's got a soft cream, a syrupiness, which is both in the texture and in the flavor. It's got a really distinctive mushroominess, which has, on one sense, it's kind of a dry mushroom flavor on a creamy texture. Does that make sense? So you're getting a sense of that piquancy, which I'm really enjoying. Well, with, as you're talking about, a little bit of bitterness, but the bitterness is very beer hoppy kind of. It's very, very much a vegetal bitterness, not a chemical bitterness, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, our cheese goes through a stage we call the bitterness of youth. So when it's
Right.
young, it is quite bitter in that kind of way you describe, but it moves out as it matures.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just leaving the bitterness of youth behind.
I love that.
But
The
you're right, I
bitterness
like that. Bitterness, yeah.
is the bitterness of youth the before or after it ejaculates?
Before. So it's like
Okay.
prepubescent bitterness of youth.
So it's like a stroppy teenager, and then it
Exactly.
works out what its purpose is in life and moves on.
It mellows out, yeah.
Mm. So do you make any other cheeses?
No, cheese is like a mistress. One is enough.
That's one way of putting it. If you were to make another cheese, what would you like to have a crack at?
You broke up there. What did you ask me?
If you were to make another cheese, what would you like to have a crack at?
Well, I have made other cheeses before. I'd like to go back to something really simple, like a farmhouse cheddar.
Are you saying that just to wind up people like Jamie?
Oh yeah, my phone's going to start ringing any minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's been
Oh,
fantastic.
What?
You there?
Yeah, I was going to say we haven't really brought up COVID in our
Mm-hmm.
discussion, but we've been doing all right. But I have to say, I was most nervous. The point I really felt like, oh my God, the world is crumbling, was when Jamie Montgomery appeared on Instagram. I thought that really is a sign of an end of days.
If he feels that
Frightened the
he's
hell out
got,
of me.
I missed that. What did he do on Instagram?
He's on it now.
Is he?
Yeah.
I
don't know how that happened.
Is he still on it? I must go and find him. We must go and find. I mean, you're on Instagram.
It's one of the 7 seals of Armageddon when Jamie Montgomery is on Instagram.
Okay, I will bear that in mind. And for those people out there that are watching this, we must go and find the most curious. I mean, I hope he's doing well. I know that we were talking about earlier the Cheddar Boys. You know, they've got options during COVID. They can stop making and just draw down on their big warehouses of cheese and sell it off and keep the system going that way. Or they can keep on making what they don't sell. They can just keep it for maturing longer. So they've got options. You've got maybe, a month before it starts going a bit sideways on you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that hit us hard in May, earlier March. We didn't sell any cheese for 3 weeks. Lockdown hit, restaurants closed, shops didn't know how to deal with it. No orders for 3 weeks. And we thought, oh dear, what's going on? And cheese keeps ripening. You can't stop it. And as you say, our cheese doesn't have much of it's not very forgiving. When it's ripe, it has to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little bit better off than, say, a soft, fresh cheese. But we don't have much time. So I was getting more and more nervous with this mound of cheese that's building up behind me. And a lot of my friends had the same problems. But my cheddar making friends, they've saved up their problems for later. So, they made their Christmas cheese 2 years ago. But like you said, they're either going to have a huge hole in their age profile or a glut. But they just haven't had to deal with it yet.
No, but they do have options. That hole doesn't have to be a steep glut. They can ease their way in and ease their way out, and they will be fine. As you say, it's the breeze and the fresh cheeses, and that there was no way through it. It's got to go when it's got to go. So they're the ones who had to stop.
Yeah,
and
you're right, except that only pertains if you have somewhere else to sell your milk. So if you're using all your milk cheese making, whether you're making cheddar or Lancashire or whatever, and you feel like you want to take your foot off the accelerator a bit, you got to sell that milk on the spot market or something for almost nothing, or tip it down the drain. I guess it's not as easy as we're making out. They didn't have as many options. as we would like
No,
to think. But
no, lots of people have really struggled. And Jamie, the Naked Chef, has to get a bit of a thank you here. He did dig a lot of people out of the hole with work he did in, what was it, April or whatever. So not normally someone who dabbles in our industry, but he made a big difference. So we should thank him.
huge difference. Yeah, really amazing guy. Worked with Neal's Yard Dairy to support British farmhouse cheese making, came up with this box scheme. We were in the first box, and he just comes on Instagram. He talks for like 15 minutes about it. And Neal's Yard thought they were going to sell 3,000 boxes in a week, and I think they sold out in 3 or 4 hours. It was incredible. So it literally soaked up 90 cheeses for us in a day. You know, those cheeses that were just sitting there not doing anything. What's your
daily production? Sort of a dozen cheeses?
No, we can make about 36 cheeses a day, but we don't make a day.
So so 90 cheeses is how much production?
Well, 3 days production.
About 3 days. Okay. Yeah.
But it also, you know, that momentum carried and sales kept going after that. Not at that level, but it helped us, and it helped lots of cheesemakers. And it just reminded people, if we're going to have a pandemic, you got to remember your local food producers so they don't go out of business. And people started to change, I think, the way they were shopping, and they were looking for small producers to go out and support. So that really helped us.
And now you were saying your cheese, looking into Christmas, you're just about sold out. You're clearing the decks.
Yeah, we have. You and I were saying earlier, you know, you have to remember how you felt back in July when trying to decide. You know, that's when we start to think about our Christmas production, end of June, early July. And we were thinking, what's going to happen for Christmas? How much do we make? It's almost like a harvest. You know, you have to plant 100,000.
It's exactly like a harvest.
Yeah, and if it doesn't come good,
we were talking to delis at that time because they don't have to make the same commitment as you, but they've got to start planning for it. And there was a general feeling of go big or go home. It was like some people were choosing to hibernate until they were sure. Other people were going, it needs to be a bloody good Christmas, otherwise we're screwed. So let's just bet on a big one. And I think those people are now reaping, because I talk to a lot of people selling stock out there right now. No one is getting what they want. The stock availability is all over the place. It's not just cheese.
Yeah, and we feel bad about it, but you know, we made a decision back then about it. You know, we had to sift through lots of different people's optimism, like you described. This guy's very bullish. This guy thinks it's the end of the world. So we made a choice how much to make, and we made less because we didn't want to be faced with a mountain of Stichelton at Christmas.
No,
short, but
I'm glad
it's still going.
I'm glad that Christmas is selling you out. That is a good answer. That's was our stocking motto when I was a shopkeeper. Was like, stock to sell out for Christmas. You want empty shelves on Christmas Day, and then you muscle through to. So well done. It's been great to meet you, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sending me one of the best pieces of blue cheese I have had, certainly this year, which has been an absolute pleasure to eat. And I hope that you personally have a very good Christmas.
You too, Charlie. It was lovely to see you.
Catch you later.
Okay. Bye.
Right, let's quickly talk. Right, next week. Thank you very much, Joe, for coming on. It's such an interesting story to hear him talk about everything that he's done and the journey he's taken to keep unpasteurized Stilton type cheese. I'm not even sure what the rules are about using that word, but in play, because it is one of the great skills to work those together. So a fantastic job. Thank you for working so hard on behalf of British Cheese, and have a great Christmas. Turning to next week, we are having a Christmas party. Slightly different format, people. Slightly different format. You need to register. It's going out. And we are going to have a big Zoom meeting. So we're going to have a Zoom tasting. Everyone can play. We're going to hear your voices, which is going to be very exciting. I'm going to send out some links. Tracy from the Academy is going to send out some links. You just need to register, and then you can come along. You can taste your own cheese, or you can get a cheese box, which Tracy will also be putting out to you guys, and I will also be putting out from the Fine Cheese Company. There'll be 3 cheeses. I can't remember what they are, but they'll be great. That's the important thing. So Ruth from there will be doing a bit of chat. I'll be doing a chat. We'll be going to some cheese rooms. Well, not cheese rooms. We'll go to breakout rooms, have a little chat, and then at the end we're going to enable a little bit of pub. So we're going to give you your own room, so you can choose who do you want to have a chat with. So have a little bit of a community end of the year session. So stay with us for next week. Fantastic job. So still training going on. Get your vouchers for your Christmas training presents for next year, so that your loved ones can be as interesting and amazing about cheese as you are. See you later. See you next week. Bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, ba, bum.